Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, December the 9th. I want to thank everybody for checking out the show. Hope everybody's listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, and Twitch, and anywhere else you find your podcasts. And hope everybody's following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Just search Catch, Hook, Shoot. You should be able to find the show. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Starting off this week on kind of a sad note, we lost two pretty big legends in the business in Larry the Axe Hennig, of course the father of Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig, former tag team partner of Harley Race. By all accounts, just a fantastic human being and just really a legend in the business. He passed away this week, as well as the Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington, former tag team partner of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Of course, they were known as the British Bulldogs in the 80s in WWF, and but really, as a singles wrestler, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. If you're not familiar with his work, I mean, the more casual and younger fans probably aren't that familiar with the Dynamite Kid as a single. But definitely look up some of his matches with Tiger Mask. Their matches that they hold up today. I mean, you'll think you're watching something current, just from the things that these guys do. And like I said, really one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. Inspired a lot of the younger, or I should say the next generation of wrestlers after himself. The biggest one of that, of course, would be Chris Benoit. He used a lot of Dynamite Kid moves, the diving headbutt, the snap suplex, just really modeled his entire style after the Dynamite Kid. So rest in peace to both Larry the Axe Hennig and Dynamite Kid Tom Billington. Dynamite Kid actually passed away on his birthday. He had just turned 60, so had a really rough last few years of his life, and really kind of a tragic story. He was actually confined to a wheelchair just from years of abusing his body and things like that. But the impact that he made on the wrestling business is something that's going to live on forever. His legacy is unquestionable. So again, rest in peace, Larry the Axe Hennig and Dynamite Kid. So moving on to what's been going on in the wrestling world this week. Monday Night Raw. Last 2 weeks of Raw have caught a lot of criticism. This past Monday was actually the lowest rated show in the 25-year history of Raw, which, I mean, that's insane. People are just not happy with the current product and the direction that Raw is going. Some of the news coming out of Raw, Alexa Bliss supposedly has been cleared to return to the ring. She's going to be holding a press conference prior to the TLC pay-per-view, so I'm curious to see what that's all about. I'm sure it's, storyline, probably just her announcing her return to the ring possibly, or maybe announcing, this could be the announcement of the women's tag team championships that everybody's been kind of clamoring for, so we'll have to wait and see. Some other interesting news. Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes were spotted in the owner's box at the Jacksonville Jaguars game last weekend, and this kind of adds fuel to the rumors about Cody possibly starting a new wrestling company with the Young Bucks. By all accounts, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Khan family, are the ones that are backing this new company financially. So we'll have to see what comes of that. Like I said, definitely is adding fuel to those rumors by them being in the owner's box during the game. There's another rumor floating around out there that the new Raw general manager is going to be Hulk Hogan. Most likely, I would think after the TLC pay-per-view, Baron Corbin is going to be out as the GM of Raw, which, I mean, I think the GM role for him was good. It kind of established a different side to his character rather than just the in-ring part. It kind of, showed a different side to his personality, which is always good. I mean, I think he's definitely improved as far as his promo skills and things like that. His skills in the ring, I think, have always been pretty good. So, I think the GM role was good for him, but I do think it's time for it to come to an end and get him back to full-time in-ring competition. So, the rumor floating around is that Hulk Hogan is going to be signing, or has signed, depending on who you ask, a new Legends deal with the WWE, and part of that deal is him being named as the new Raw general manager. I would assume we will find out one way or the other on that on the Raw after TLC. Some more independent news. The Young Bucks put out a tweet that they signed a contract with a new old company, specifically LJN. The picture that accompanied it looked like the packaging from one of the old LJN wrestling figures. For those of you that are old enough to remember, the big rubber figures, the first set of action figures put out by the WWE by LJN. So that if they are bringing those back, kind of like a retro line, I guess it would be. Yeah, I'll definitely be snatching a few of those up. I'm guessing with the Young Bucks signing with them, it's probably going to be more independent wrestlers, since I'm pretty sure WWE has their own toy deal in place. I can't see them being able to sign with another company to produce action figures. So we'll have to see what's going to come of that. But if LJN is coming back and getting back into the wrestling figure business, I'll definitely be snatching a few of those up, because stupid me got rid of all of mine. I had almost a full set of the original line of those, and yeah, didn't, it was before I realized that things like that could have huge value down the line if you hold on to them. So I actually ended up selling them at a garage sale, believe it or not. So I'll definitely be looking to get my hands on some of those. Another interesting tidbit about the Young Bucks, they put out another photograph on social media. It looked like a partial logo. It looked like an antler of some sort with the tassels hanging off of it. So possibly like a new logo for the Young Bucks or something like that, or maybe a new t-shirt. Who knows? The Bucks and Cody and all the Elite guys kind of like to tease things and drop hints and, just to get people talking. I mean, that's one of the things that they do best outside of the ring, is getting people talking about them and things like that. So I have to see how that one plays out as well. Another interesting rumor floating around this week is about The Rock possibly going into the Hall of Fame this coming year. Now, this is a story that was put out by the Wrestling Observer and Dave Meltzer. I mean, yeah, The Rock is definitely deserving of the Hall of Fame. So if this is the year that they decide to put him in, hey, I have no arguments for me. I mean, he's one of the all-time greats in WWE and in wrestling in general. He's probably, as far as mainstream fame and popularity goes, he is the biggest of all time. I mean, just look at the movie career he's had since leaving the WWE. So yeah, definitely no argument for me. The Rock is 100% a bona fide Hall of Famer and absolutely belongs in there. So if this is his year and he's the headliner for this year, then that I'm all in on that one. Some news out of the NWA. Nick Aldis' next NWA World Title defense is going to be on June the 5th, and it's going to be against Cowboy James Storm. This is, to me, a fantastic matchup. I'm a huge fan of James Storm. Honestly, I wish he would have signed with NXT and the WWE after he had a couple of shots there while he was in between contracts at Impact. But apparently it just wasn't meant to be. From what I see of him on social media, he is in high demand. He's another one who's making it without the WWE, and that's becoming, not, I wouldn't say common, but there's a lot of guys that seem to be able to do that now. Make a great living as on the independent scene and not really need the WWE machine behind them. Obviously, they have to work, extremely hard to keep their name out there. Keep, they have to do all their own promoting, their own booking, and things like that. They don't have that machine supporting them. But if it goes to show, if you're willing to put in the work and invest in yourself, the WWE is not always needed. And I think some prime examples of that: James Storm, Nick Aldis, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny Omega, any number of guys. So yeah, good luck to James Storm. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing him packing the 10 pounds of gold. Should be a great match with Nick Aldis. Hopefully, I'll get the opportunity to see it. I did not see anything about it being on pay-per-view on the Fight app or anything like that, but I'm sure that news will be coming within the next couple of weeks. Some interesting news about Bray Wyatt. He, obviously hasn't been on TV since Matt Hardy had to retire from the ring, and has been kind of quiet on social media. Well, this past week, he deleted all of the tweets on his Twitter account and just posted kind of a cryptic message, which is really nothing new for him, but the message said, "Today I'm someone different. Today I finally become who I really am." So does this mean he's got a new character? Does that mean he's going to be coming back soon, possibly with a little bit of a change? I mean, the name on his Twitter account is still Bray Wyatt, so I mean, I like the character and the gimmick that he's been working with as the Eater of Worlds. I'm hoping they keep it similar. I mean, as long as they don't take him back to being Husky Harris, I think he'll be all right. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see Bray Wyatt back in the ring. I'm sure, you know, the Matt Hardy having to retire was kind of sudden. So I'm sure creative, quote unquote, had nothing for him as an individual at that time. So I'm excited to see where he's going to go. He's definitely somebody I think WWE needs right now, because they're short on not short on big names, but short on people that the audience really gets behind. I mean, they lost some of their top names for a while. They lost Roman Reigns, who's out indefinitely. They lost Braun Strowman, who pretty much will be back by TLC. But yeah, I think Bray Wyatt can definitely add something to the product, and just hopefully it's something. Hopefully they have something good for him, is all I can really say about that. Some other scary news going on this weekend. Last night at the House of Hardcore show, Big Cass was scheduled to wrestle, and during the intermission, walked into the lobby of the 2300 Arena to, sell some merch, sign some autographs, things like that, and he collapsed with a seizure, apparently. Now, EMS was on the scene. They got him to the hospital, got him treated, so hopefully he's going to be all right. I haven't seen any updates today on it, but yeah, by all accounts from people who were there and everything, he was, he had a seizure, but he was responsive. He was able to talk to the medical personnel that were there, was able to, get to his feet, or at least get to a knee, something like that. So all good signs. So hopefully it's not anything too serious, and something that he can come back from and continue on with his in-ring career. So best wishes to Big Cass. Some other news out of Raw. Baron Corbin put Heath Slater and Rhino in a match against each other. Basically said that, we don't have it in the budget to keep you both on as in-ring competitors, so you have to fight each other, and the loser is fired. Heath Slater ended up winning that match, so Rhino is quote-unquote fired. By all accounts, it's just storyline. He's not actually retiring or anything like that. So we'll see how that one plays out. And Heath Slater now is a referee, so I'm guessing we're going to see him more on television in the next few weeks, which is never a bad thing. I'm sure he's happy to be doing TV, and obviously this is something that was planned, so it's not like they blindsided Slater, "Oh, you're going to be a referee now." So it's obviously, hopefully, working towards some type of storyline payoff or something like that. So we'll have to see where that goes. Another confrontation between Drew McIntyre and Finn Balor. McIntyre just beat Balor down backstage during the show. And of course, these two have a match coming up at TLC, so it's just kind of building the rivalry. And that's basically what I think Raw was trying to do this week, is just kind of build on the storylines that are going, moving into the pay-per-view, which is next weekend. So we'll see. Hopefully, some of these rivalries that are going on will have a pretty good payoff in the matches coming up at TLC. Another rivalry they continue to build is Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. They were involved in a tag team match. It was Ronda Rousey and Ember Moon defeated Nia Jax and Tamina. Ronda tapped out Tamina with her armbar. Some more stuff with Sasha and Bayley and Alexa. They've done this Q&A thing with Sasha and Bayley in the audience for the last couple of weeks, and they actually mentioned on air one of Bayley's answer to one of the fans' questions was that she and Sasha want to be the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. So to my knowledge, that's the first time it's been mentioned on air, the possibility of those tag team titles. So I'd say it's pretty much a lock that it's going to happen, since they're mentioning it on air now. And we'll have to see where and when that's going to happen, how that's going to work out. Is it going to be just on Raw? Is it going to be one set of titles that goes between Raw and SmackDown? And I've mentioned this before. I think there are too many titles, but I think women's tag team titles would definitely be, a big deal. So I'd like to see just one set of titles that goes back and forth between both shows, and I mean that across the board as far as world titles, tag team titles, everything. There's too many championships in WWE. I think they need to cut it down, but I've done an entire show about that already. I'm not going to get into it again. But Sasha and Bayley did defeat Mickie James and Alicia Fox. And then that's really kind of the extent of what happened on Raw. Like I said, it was, the lowest rated episode in the history of the show, which says a lot. I mean, in 25 years, this was the low point, is what it was. So hopefully WWE is listening to their fan base, and hopefully we're going to see something turn around. I'm glad they stayed away from the Drake Maverick storyline. I think 2 weeks of that was enough. Move it in a different direction. Not saying that they shouldn't continue with the AOP versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. I'm still waiting for Bobby Roode's heel turn. They've hinted at it here and there. I really am hoping they pull the trigger on it, because Bobby Roode is just such a natural, good heel. I mean, he's not a bad babyface, but he just seems so much more natural as a heel and is so much better as a heel personality-wise. So I'm hoping that they'll pull the trigger on that somewhere in this rivalry between he and Gable and the Authors of Pain. Moving on to SmackDown, we saw Daniel Bryan with another beatdown on AJ Styles, building towards their match at TLC. We had the contract signing between Charlotte, Asuka, and Becky Lynch. Then Charlotte and Asuka ended up in a tag team match against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, which Mandy and Sonya took the victory on. Randy Orton defeated Jeff Hardy with distraction from Samoa Joe, so they're really, really building this Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy rivalry, with Joe kind of playing on Jeff's past indiscretions with alcohol, substances, that kind of thing. So it's always kind of cool and yet uncomfortable when they work real life into a storyline like this, but it definitely makes it feel more real. So SmackDown was definitely the better show this week. Moving on to NXT UK, we had the faction known as Gallus, which is the Coffee Brothers and Wolfgang in the ring, basically calling out British Strong Style, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven, talking about the NXT UK Tag Team Championships, and those I really think are going to be the top two teams vying for those championships. Is going to be Mustache Mountain in particular, Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, and some combination of the Coffee Brothers and Wolfgang. I would say probably the Coffee Brothers more than likely. So it seems like a pretty good rivalry building up there between those two factions, and those in my mind are the top two factions in NXT UK. Those are probably your 6 top guys, or at least most popular guys. And there's going to be an announcement next week regarding the tag team titles for NXT UK, so I would assume they're going to be announcing a tournament, or however they're going to crown their first champions will be announced next week. Also saw Isla Dawn in a match on NXT UK. She honestly, this was actually the first time I've seen her in the ring, and I was thoroughly impressed. She's definitely going to be a top women's contender in NXT UK, along with Toni Storm, and obviously the current NXT UK Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. So the NXT UK Women's division is stacking up to be very, very good. And definitely, a lot of times I get more excited for some of the women's matches and some of the men's matches, and that's not a knock against any of the men. I think all the men on NXT UK are fantastic as well. But just women's wrestling has gotten so huge in the last couple of years, and that's fantastic. That it's progressed as much as it has from the days of the the Santa's Little Helper and the mud wrestling matches or whatever it might be. Just look at the last 15 to 20 years of women's wrestling, and it's just progressed by leaps and bounds, and it's about time, quite honestly. And something I noticed about NXT UK, and it's not anything big or important, it's just something that kind of caught my ear actually this past week, that this is a UK brand. It's produced in the UK, it's filmed in the UK, it's on television in the UK, and they announce the wrestlers' weights in pounds rather than stone. I just thought that was interesting, and it just made me wonder why do they do that? If it's a UK based product. But hey, that's just the way my mind works. So Yeah, 205 Live, again, you saw really more advancement of storylines between Akira Tozawa and Brian Kendrick, and Jack Gallagher and Drew Gulak. This pretty much is one of the top rivalries in 205 Live right now. It's been going on for quite a while, and yeah, I would really like to see 205 Live get their own kind of network special, kind of along the lines of the NXT takeovers. Kind of, I guess, their own kind of pay-per-view, so to speak. They did an all-women's pay-per-view. Why not an all-cruiserweight pay-per-view? I think it would be, I think it would do a lot to advance the 205 Live brand and get their names out there if they promote it. Because you really don't see too much promotion for 205 Live on like Raw and SmackDown, or even on NXT for that matter. Once in a while you'll see a 205 Live guy wrestle on NXT, or vice versa, an NXT guy wrestle on 205 Live. But I don't think you see enough cross promoting of the shows on in WWE. I don't understand why. I mean, you've got Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live. So you've got 5 television shows, 5 distinct different brands. Why not cross promote them? I don't mean send wrestlers back and forth between all 5, but advertise, hey, don't miss NXT this Wednesday, don't miss NXT UK, don't miss 205 Live. I don't think they're effectively using some of the platforms they have to advance their own product, but I don't know if it's something to do with contracts that they can't promote, stuff on their own network on USA. I mean, they talk about it, they'll advertise it, but they don't make too big of a deal out of it. And I'm not saying spend an entire segment talking about 205 Live or talking about NXT on Raw or anything like that, but give yourself the boost. I mean, you've got this huge audience of millions of people every Monday and Tuesday. Use it to boost your smaller brands, especially 205 Live, because those honestly are some of the best performers in WWE. And I think given the proper stage, the proper platform, they could just blow up the same way that NXT has. So hopefully that's something that'll be worked on, because I would really love to see a 205 Live takeover, or whatever you want to call it. Another big rivalry is TJP and Michael Bennett, or Mike Kanellis, whatever you want to call him, against Lucha House Party, Kalisto, Lince Dorado, and Gran Metalik. And I can't say enough good things about 205 Live and the guys that are on it. Moving on to NXT, we saw the debut of Punishment Martinez against Matt Riddle. These two guys put on a great match. Obviously, they're no strangers to each other from the indie circuit and Ring of Honor and things like that. Matt Riddle did take the victory by submission, but Punishment Martinez had put on a fantastic match. It was by no means like a squash match or anything like that. I did see some people complaining online, like, oh, why'd you have him lose right out of the gate? Made him look weak. It didn't make him look weak. He put on a fantastic match and gave Riddle a run for his money, even though they only had a few minutes to put the match on. They got in that ring, they did their thing, and they told a great story. And it was a great match. And then, of course, afterwards, saw Cassius Ohno come out and attack Matt Riddle afterwards. And, so they're still pumping up that rivalry with Ohno and Matt Riddle. But yeah, Punishment Martinez, I think, they definitely fast-tracked his debut. Normally, a lot of times you'll see these guys put on NXT house shows for quite a while, like Donovan Dijak and Marina Shafir and Jessamyn Duke. They were on the NXT house show circuit for a few months before they made their TV debut. So obviously they have a lot of confidence in Martinez, and they're pretty high on him because they put him straight to television. And so I'm excited to see where he's going to go. Also saw some more in the advancement with the rivalry with Shayna Baszler and Marina Shafir and Jessamyn Duke. And again, within their rivalry with Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, and Kairi Sane, Shayna Baszler defeated Dakota Kai in a match this week. Duke and Shafir were in her corner. After the match, the three of them were beating down Dakota Kai. Io Shirai came in for the save, chased the other three off. Kairi Sane didn't get involved this time. Guessing she was, not at the arena for whatever reason. But they're definitely working on building up the horsewomen. I think it's just a matter of time. They want to, and this is just my thinking, my opinion. I'm not really getting this from anywhere, but it makes sense to me. They're gonna have Baszler and Shafir and Duke working together so that they can mesh as a team, on TV. Put them in a rivalry with Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane. Let that play out, and probably sooner rather than later, you are going to see the other 3 MMA horsewomen up on the main roster with Ronda Rousey, and we are going to see, barring something drastic happening like a major injury or somebody getting released or something like that, you're going to see the 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen at some point. I don't think it's going to happen at WrestleMania. I think they're going to push more towards Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. I think I mentioned last week I could see that triple threat match being the main event of WrestleMania this coming year. But in one of the smaller in between pay-per-views, maybe not necessarily one of the big 4, who knows, they may push it till next year's Survivor Series. You're going to see 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen. It's just a matter of time. Also on NXT, you had a pretty good promo between Tommaso Ciampa, Aleister Black, and Johnny Gargano. It was announced that Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black are going to settle their rivalry inside of a cage. I'm pretty sure that'll be coming up on an episode of NXT in the next couple of weeks. I know it's already been taped. I've not seen what the result is. I don't want to know. I like watching NXT as it's released on television. Spoilers happen. If I come across it, then I come across it, but I'm not going to, put it out on here to ruin it for anybody. So, Gargano and, or I should say, Aleister Black and Ciampa are going to be having a NXT Championship match at TakeOver Phoenix Royal Rumble weekend. That will be Aleister Black's return match for the NXT Championship. Next week on NXT, EC3 is going to have his match against Bobby Fish, kind of his revenge for Bobby Fish attacking him when he made his comeback. So it should be a great match. I mean, anything with the Undisputed Era right now, those guys are gold. Anything they touch is just, like I said, turns to gold. So they can pretty much do no wrong right now, and EC3 is right there with them. NXT right now is the hottest WWE brand there is, without a doubt. Ricochet is going to be defending the North American Championship next week. I can't talk today, guys. Against a mystery opponent. So I'm curious to see who that's going to be. Maybe it, could this be the debut of Donovan Dijak, or Dominic Dijakovic, or Dijakovic. I'm not sure. I don't know why they changed his name, but because I think Donovan Dijak was a pretty good wrestler name, and then what they changed it to is really kind of a mouthful. But could that be his debut, or debut with somebody else? I mean, they have NXT has signed quite a few big indie names the last several months. So it'll be interesting to see if it's somebody new, or maybe somebody that's been out injured for a little while, or what's going to happen with that. But yeah, Ricochet versus a mystery opponent for the North American Championship next week. Moving on to Impact, we've got looks like we're going to have an Ultimate X match at their next pay-per-view called Homecoming. Jake Crist and Ethan Page both qualified for Ultimate X. This is going to be for the currently vacant X Division Championship. Brian Cage vacated the X Division title, cashing in option C for a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship against Johnny Impact. And Eli Drake has been challenged to a Monsters Ball match at Homecoming against Abyss. Monsters Ball matches are always fun to watch. It's kind of like watching a car crash. You just can't take your eyes off of it, because you never know what's going to happen. They had another scene with Eddie Edwards in the insane asylum that he's been committed to by his wife, and this time he was there with Raven, of all people. So curious to see where this is going to go. Raven, I guess, stole a key card from an orderly and was helping Eddie to escape. So this is obviously something that's going to advance the storyline with Eddie Edwards and Moose. We had Allie, now known as Dark Allie, who is, I guess, apparently now under the influence of Su Yung. Allie had a match and, took the victory in her match, and afterwards Kiera Hogan came out trying to talk Allie back to reality, back to her old self, and she ended up getting beat down and having the mandible claw put on her by Allie. So Yeah, I think a lot of this is leading to Rosemary possibly returning soon. I know she's been out with an injury. She had to have surgery, so but that's been quite a few months already. Haven't seen anything officially stating that she's cleared to return to the ring, but I would imagine it's going to be sometime soon. She did have a little bit of a cameo at their last pay-per-view when Allie was going through the underworld, so to speak. So yeah, it'll be cool to see Rosemary come back, and I'm liking the storyline that's going on with the women right now in Impact. I mean, it's a lot of people probably say it's kind of hokey and cheesy and things like that, but you know what? It's fun and it's interesting. It's different. It's entertaining. To me, it is anyway. And I'm a big fan of Allie and Su Yung and Rosemary, and I'm becoming a big fan of Kiera Hogan. So the Impact Women's Division is definitely getting back to where it once was. It's not quite there yet. They don't have all the big names that they used to, but you know what? When they first had all those big names, they weren't that big at the time either. So they're definitely on the right track with their women's division. We saw a promo backstage with Katrina bringing in a woman named Ruby Reyes in her feud against Jordynne Grace. Ruby Reyes, another big, strong woman, so it'll be interesting to see her in the ring with Jordynne Grace, which I cannot stop talking about Jordynne Grace lately. I've become a huge fan of hers ever since the first time I actually saw Jordynne Grace was at All In, and any woman that can stand there toe to toe with Brian Cage deserves attention. So, and she's 22 years old, and her career is just on the rise, and it's just going to keep going up. I mean, the sky is the limit for this woman. So I'm definitely interested to see where she's going to go. I can, definitely. So many with her being an Impact. There's a lot of dream matches I could think up, like Tessa Blanchard, Taya Valkyrie. I'd love to see. Hell, I'd love to see a three-way rivalry between those three, because Tessa obviously is the Knockouts champion right now. Taya is one of the top women's wrestlers in the world right now, and Jordynne Grace is right there with them. So it'll be pretty cool to see. Like I said, I'm really excited to see where the Impact Women's Division is going to go. And finally on Impact, the main event was Johnny Impact and Taya Valkyrie versus Moose and Tessa Blanchard. Impact and Taya did win the match. Killer Kross came out at the end of the match to lend some assistance, so to speak, to Johnny Impact. He's been trying to get on Johnny Impact's good side the last few weeks. Obviously it's Killer Kross. There's some kind of ulterior motive there. I'm wondering if possibly he's gonna be the one to help Brian Cage win the world title at the pay-per-view. Now, Cage did come out as well and kind of chased off Killer Kross and Moose and Tessa and helped Johnny Impact and Taya. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. But Killer Kross is kind of the wild card in the world title picture right now. So I'll be curious to see what's gonna happen on that pay-per-view. Moving on to Ring of Honor this week, just building more towards their big pay-per-view coming up this Friday, and I covered pretty much what the card is going to be. One match I don't think I mentioned is Jonathan Gresham versus Zack Sabre Jr. These are two of the top technical wrestlers in the world right now, not just on the independents. I mean, if you've ever seen either one of these guys in the ring, it's insane. I mean, I cannot name two better technical wrestlers right now than these two guys. They're going to be having a match at Final Battle this Friday. This may be the first Ring of Honor pay-per-view that I actually pay for and order and watch, because it's a stacked card. You don't know what's going to happen. One match I'm really, really curious to see is Christopher Daniels versus Marty Scurll. Again, two of the best in the world right now. The storyline on this one is Daniels is basically fighting for his job. His Ring of Honor contract is up, and Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian, the other two members of SoCal Uncensored, have already secured their spots by winning the tag team titles and being able to renew their contracts. And Christopher Daniels is kind of the odd man out. So the story with this one is if he defeats Marty Scurll, he earns, or wins, I should say, Marty Scurll's world title match at a future date. So if he's got that match, then he, is going to be, they're going to keep him around for a while, so he would earn, I guess, a new contract. So that's another match I really want to see. And by all accounts, this will be Cody and the Young Bucks' last match under contract with Ring of Honor. So Cody's going against Jay Lethal for the World Championship. The Bucks are taking part in a ladder war for the tag team titles against SCU and the Briscoes. So a lot of big things going on in this pay-per-view. This may be, well, it's obviously Ring of Honor's biggest pay-per-view of the year. It could be their biggest pay-per-view in history, just based on the gravity of the storylines that they've got going into it. Moving on to MLW for this week, we had the debuts of Ace Romero and Rush. Rush, of course, is the leader of, and I know I'm going to say this wrong, so please don't jump all over me for it. I'm not even going to try it. The big faction from Mexico. Y'all know who I'm talking about from CMLL, and Ace Romero, just a huge guy, and he took on Marco Stunt. Just looking at the two men, you thought it was the biggest mismatch you've ever seen, but they had a hell of a match. I mean, if you have not checked out MLW, they post all their episodes on YouTube for free. So, or if you get the BN Sports channel on your TV provider, you can check them out there. But it's definitely worth looking into. MLW is moving into the position of being like the third or fourth biggest company, at least in the U.S. right now. Obviously, number one is WWE. Number two right now, I still say, is Ring of Honor. The 3 and 4 spots, it's kind of a toss-up between Impact and MLW. I mean, check them both out. If you haven't watched Impact in a couple of years, check it out on Thursdays. It's a completely different product than you probably remember. Some other news out of the House of Hardcore show, other than, of course, the scary news for Big Cass, was Nick Aldis defending the NWA World Championship against Brian Cage. Aldis did retain in this one. Willie Mack defended both the NWA National Championship and the House of Hardcore TV Championship against Shane Strickland and retained both of those championships. And then for New Japan Pro Wrestling this week, this morning, Kota Ibushi is the new Never Openweight champion and was challenged by Will Ospreay for a title match at Wrestle Kingdom 13 on January the 4th. So that is going to be a ridiculous match. I mean, it's January 4th, but that has all the potential to be a match of the year candidate for 2019, even though it's taking place the first week of the year. These are two top guys, two of the tops in Japan, and I dare say the world. So, the Wrestle Kingdom show on January 4th is shaping up to be just ridiculous. So that's pretty much all I've got for this week. I don't have a specific topic that I was going to cover, but I am working on something special for the last 3 weeks of the year. Starting next week, I'm going to be doing a 3-part series to close the year out, breaking down my personal list of the top 100 wrestlers of all time. And I'm not going to spend like 15-20 minutes on every single wrestler. I'm going through 100 guys in 3 shows, so I'm going to be going through like 33, 34 guys per show. But this is going to be my personal list. I'm going to go from 100 to 1 starting next week with the first 33 guys. So, starting with number 100. And again, this is my personal list. I compiled it myself. I ordered it myself. This isn't something I got off of any wrestling website. This is my personal, you can call it the catch, hook, shoot top 100 of all time. So I'm sure there'll be some you agree with, some you don't agree with. Some you don't think should be on the list. You're going to think that I've left some people out. You're going to think my order's wrong, and that's okay, because I'm saying it flat out. This is my opinion, my list, my top 100 guys. But I'll be, I would love to hear any feedback that you guys have about it. So I mean, you use the social media, use the email, you know, you leave me comments, leave me questions. Tell me who I forgot. Tell me, you know, why should this person not be at number 10? You know, why, or why should, you know, why should the person that I put at number 25, why should they actually be number 2, or something along those lines? So, you know, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, I had fun putting the list together. I still am not 100% done with it. I mean, I've got my 100 names. I have to sort them into the order that I think they belong in, from 100 to 1. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys check it out. And like I said, please leave me feedback. I'm begging you guys, you know, tell me I'm right, tell me I'm wrong, tell me you don't care, tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, tell me something, you know, leave me any feedback you want to leave. I'm open to it all, and I would love to hear it. So again, thank you everybody for checking out the show. Hope everybody's listening, watching, subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, and Twitch. Hope everybody's following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So until next week, when we start with the top 100 wrestlers of all time, my name is Tom, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great week.